Hey everybody, Fox here. I have the wonderful Juno Roche right here in my very own living room.
Thank you, Fox. Thanks for inviting me.
So we've just been filming for something completely different, haven't we?
We have. We've just been filming for... I never know. I've not done one of these things before, so I don't know if I should look at there.
You can look at the audience, you can look at me, you can look at both of us.
Because that's like an audience.
Yeah, these are the people.
It's like the pressure now of an audience. I never have the pressure of an audience. Yeah, we've just been talking about my work with Clinic Q and the work that Clinic Q do.
Yeah, which is a fantastic organisation, and Juno, you're a patron of Clinic Q.
I am a patron of Clinic Q, which is a great honour. They're the only trans-led, kind of delivered and created sexual healthcare centre in the country. It's really important. They really, and it's a space where trans people can feel safe, it's full of kind of vibrancy in the waiting room and people talking and I don't know, it's so important because for so many of us, going to the doctors or going to the hospital is a kind of problem. Yeah, absolutely, it's a real problem.
Absolutely.
So
trans healthcare and beyond is super, super important.
It's really, our bodies are still something that most people say, we're faced with. I know that when I've been to the hospital, they say, well, I've never seen a trans vagina before, so I can't
comment or I don't know.
And in a way, sorry, I'm talking too much, but I will...
Please, talk away. We've got about 10 minutes to chat, so it's good.
I know that when, before I had I had a vaginoplasty a few years ago, and before that, all of the vaginas that I'd kind of thought about and fantasised about and dreamt about were natal vaginas.
Yeah.
So I was really unaware, and in a sense I think that is part of the problem, is that we have an idealised view of a vagina.
And not necessarily managing expectations, because that sounds like you've got to put up with something, but it's more about celebrating the body that you have and that you're...
Absolutely.
That surgery can give you. And
yeah, absolutely.
I just wish that my partner Al was here to talk about this, because I haven't had a designer vagina, but... I guess I can also contribute to this conversation because for the opposite spectrum, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that I haven't opted for a phalloplasty yet. One, because I identify as non-binary and I'm exploring inhabiting my body and loving myself as I am, but also because the surgery just isn't really where it's at, and it seems like you still need to compromise some element of sensation or and it's never going to function like a cis penis, and and we're also dick focused anyway. I don't know if I even want to go down that path.
But I think the thing is as well is that we've just been certainly if you're of in my generation or older and maybe even younger still, because I think that people are really panicked now about and rightly so, about the waiting lists and about the kind of the poor state of the kind of transsexual healthcare in this country, or trans healthcare in this country, that people kind of get tied into a really linear journey, which is seen as kind of almost hierarchical. So you start here, you maybe get boobs, and then you move on, and then the kind of at the top of the mountain is this kind of blessed vagina.
Yeah, ta-da! You're done.
And then you get that, and then things will fall in place. But actually,
what's the reality? The
reality is entirely different from that, and that's not to say that things won't fall in place. I love my vagina. I say that all the time, but I do. I think it's a fucking marvel. I don't know if you can swear on these things, but I just have. But I think it's absolutely a fantastic thing. It's beautiful, but it's my vagina, and I see it definitely as being like a trans vagina, and I have ownership, so I don't compare it with a natal vagina. And I'm interested in how it works, and it's different, it's shaped differently, it's created differently, and in that sense I think there's a whole set of conversations that we could have that are really engaging and empowering.
And that's exactly the word, isn't it? It's about feeling empowered and feeling that we're not opting for second best, or we're not making do in some ways, that we're actually being able to we're at a point where we can celebrate who we are. And I can speak with having a trans partner, and I absolutely worship their body, and our bodies are so compatible and so connected, and we really, really enjoy a really great sex life without revealing too much. much, I suppose. But it's.
I don't think it is. I think
it's important to talk about.
I think it's really important to talk about the fact that actually, most of the time, from the instant you kind of line up for this journey, you have to validate yourself, and we're constantly validating ourselves in relation to stuff outside of our community.
We're also comparing ourselves to people within the community as well.
Yes, I think so. But in terms of that, when we compare ourselves to people within the community, it's often in this way of they really pass.
Passing privilege.
Look at how much they pass, or look how beautiful they are.
Yeah, look how beautiful they are.
Look at how their beauty has led them to success.
Look at how quickly the hormones have affected them.
Absolutely. Look at the size of their boobs, and my boobs aren't bigger. When will the hormones do that to me? But so I think that we really beat ourselves up, and we kind of validate ourselves outside. So actually, I think that you and Al, being this beautiful couple,
thank you,
is so important because it validates us within our own community, and we don't have to look outside. We can talk about our vaginas. We don't have to be the subject of a programme or of a front page of a newspaper with a kind of sex change headline. We can talk about our vaginas and our genitals, and we can talk about that in terms of how we, the kind of reality of them, not in terms of a kind of, like when I talk about vaginas in terms of my writing, sometimes people say to me, do you have to talk about it? Because in some way there's a kind of mystery, or there's some kind of...
But why shouldn't we talk about it? And I think this is the thing that's not being talked about enough, and this is why we're having this conversation today.
Yeah. We
need to find a way to celebrate them more and be able to talk about every single aspect of that, as opposed to sticking to this almost heteronormative narrative that we get pigeonholed into, especially with media interest. They're only generally interested in bodies that conform and people that pass. And I think that's incredibly problematic, because the trans community is so broad and so diverse that if we don't see ourselves represented in the media, we can feel very upset, and quite rightly so.
Absolutely. And I think that what we see is a kind of is perfect cis versions of us, and there's nothing wrong with that. There will be people that will just be perfect and beautiful, and they will appear to be heteronormative, and that's fine. It's not about, but I think it's about...
It's quite a rarity, isn't it?
It is, but I think it's about choices as well. I think that for all those people that don't want to kind of fit that model, I think there has to be choices. I really like the idea of asking urologists. I like the idea of setting a competition for urologists and saying to them, here's your input and here's your output, but the output has to have great sensation and the ability to orgasm.
To create something entirely new.
And then people can go and pick their model, and you can have completely heteronormative, so completely cis vagina, or you can have something along the scale, and that's all fine, because surely the value of us and what we're doing is to break down those. And unless we do the work to break down those kind of boundaries, we're just going to be trapped and kind of held into
other people's ideas
of what we should do. And passing is something, I kind of always felt this, passing, there's no privilege to passing because we don't own it. Somebody else owns it.
Exactly.
What we own are our journeys, and those are eminently powerful. Your journey and my journey and our experiences, they're eminently powerful, and it's those we should be.
You're absolutely right, because it is a gift. I do feel that it is. And I do talk to some trans people where I ask them the question, if you could have been born as a cis person, as the gender that you identify as now, would you? And they do sometimes say yes, but I'm hearing often from people, and myself included, no, actually I wouldn't give this up for anything, because
I wouldn't change it for anything.
The empathy, the perspective, the path, the journey, I believe that's what we're here as human beings to do, to progress, and it'd be incredibly boring if we were if there was no journey involved.
I wouldn't. I honestly, the only thing I'd change is to have longer legs. I'd really like longer legs. So if there's anyone out there in a kind of Buddhist type way that's hearing this,
next lifetime, I
want to still be me, still the trans vagina at a certain point. I love that. I'm
leggier,
fascinated, but just longer legs. It's so superficial. It's all revealed.
You've been having these conversations recently about celebrating the body and the self. What can we do?
I think just be brave. This weekend I had kind of 4 days of online abuse, and I'm not going to waste lots of negative time about that, but I had about 4 days of really consistent online abuse because I'd written a piece about motherhood and about wanting to be a mother. And, you know, I choose just to block all of that and not to engage. But what we have to be is brave.
Mm-hmm.
We have to openly have these conversations and not be kind of shied away because in some way, if I talk about my vagina and its perfect limitations, and I mean that in all seriousness, I'm not questioning our process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm merely trying to really flesh out our process so that our process has we validate our process.
Yeah.
No one else does. Not a gender surgeon,
Yeah.
or not a psychiatrist, or not radical feminist. You know, whoever it is, we validate.
We know who we are, and that's the most
Absolutely,
important thing. We
absolutely.
can celebrate who we are. We're not
Yep.
waiting for that validation.
Yeah. And I think for future generations, we just have to be really brave. We
Yeah.
have to be brave so that they can have the space and the freedom to kind of explore all of this stuff, but by being. They don't explore it in an academic or in a kind of they explore it just by being and getting on and being parents or being lovers or being whatever they want to be. So just I think we help by being brave.
And being brave just means being out and being, you know, having these
Absolutely,
conversations.
yeah, and not shying away from the difficult. You know, it's like not shying away from talking about our genitals, not shying away from talking about our sex lives,
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff that works and the stuff that doesn't work.
Because there is always that fear, you know, who's
Yeah.
going to love me as I am, and if I don't
Absolutely.
conform, then
Yeah.
then am I completely blowing my chances? And you know, that is the risk that you take, but we shouldn't feel that that's a risk in the first place, actually. And what I've discovered this far down the path is that I'm happier than I've ever been with my sex life, my partner, my body, and you know, if I, you know, I was single for 3 years.
I feel like an old mum.
Gina, you're a hot mum.
I feel like a really hot mum and available.
So if you like to take Juno out on a date, write a comment in.
Please, just do they write it underneath?
You can write a comment below.
Please do.
Yeah, she's foxy.
I love that.
It's just that you're so awesome. There's not that many equally awesome people, so you've kind of that's the only reason there's less people out there. You see.
I think that's probably, and also to be honest, not to give anyone a hard time, but I think I'm loving my stuff that I'm doing, and I genuinely haven't had time.
Yeah, that's
to kind
it
of
too.
stop, and you know, I love my vagina. I love exploring my vagina and my career and my writing and everything else. So in that kind of sense, I haven't had time. But that doesn't mean not to write a comment. So please do.
It's an ongoing conversation. So thanks very much, Juno.
Thank you.
Yay. Bye. That's it.
I know, I liked it. That was really nice.
That's good, huh?